Welcome back, and Snoopy says hi. Hi! I haven't made a video in a while. Been very busy, but I promised to share my practical check ride with you. This is not to reveal DPE secrets, but rather just my experience. Now, it's been 2 years since my check ride, so please check with your CFI, your DPE, and refer to the ACS for your own unique situation. And I would love to hear your check ride stories in the comments below. As usual, I made some rough animations to make it a little easier for you to follow along. So let's get into it. The examiner watched me pre-flight. And I'm known for my long pre-flights. My DPE told me there were several reasons for immediate disapproval. Some of the items were if I was doing anything unsafe during the check ride, if he had to take control of the aircraft for any reason, like exceeding VNE, which is the never exceed speed, or I was unsure of my maneuvers. Memory item number 1. Treat your DPE as a passenger from beginning to end. Assume they do not know anything about aviation. For starters, one of the items to keep in mind is to instruct the DPE how to get into the aircraft, just as you would a passenger. Memory item number 2 is consider the weather. Take a moment to appreciate this video I made of a storm outside my apartment. Weather decisions are obvious from all your training, but consider how you will handle it. For my check ride, I had a storm roll in just as I was finishing up my ground portion. After the storm left, I was asked if I wanted to continue. The DPE was willing to come back another day. So look at the weather, not just on your check ride day, but the week following. So if unexpected weather does come up, you will be better prepared to make a decision. There was some pressure in my mind to continue, but I did not eat and my ground portion was long, so I decided to come back another day. Memory item number 3, use your checklists. Make an effort to remember your checklist. When you are feeling the check ride stress and work overload, it's possible to forget. I did forget one time just before my takeoff. My DPE mentioned it to me. It was later in the check ride, so I was ready for all this to be over and have a celebration. But don't celebrate too soon. Keep your mind on the task at hand. Remember your climb, cruise, descent, and pre-landing checklist. Do some chair flying at home and practice it. Memory item number 4, make sure the aircraft is ready the night before. I think I mentioned this in my last video on the oral portion, but it's something to keep in mind again. I have heard stories of flat tires and issues the day of the check ride. Give yourself peace of mind knowing the aircraft has gas, clean windows, oil levels, and tires all look good and everything is ready to go. For me, it made me just a little less nervous. So now let's get into the flight portion. I fast forwarded this, and honestly, 2 years ago, I can't quite remember what we were doing and when, but I'll describe it as best I can. The first thing you do is your cross country. So the altitude that I selected, we had some low cloud ceilings, so I couldn't go at the altitude that I wanted. But any of the decisions that I made, I explained to him. I did pretty good on my cross country, and so we went into the next maneuver. And I think we had some clearing turns here, maybe dodging a few clouds. Not really sure where the slow flight came in or the stalls. I think we had some ground reference maneuvers to do, but there was another aircraft. Actually, it was an air tractor that was spraying the crops and doing some fancy flying below me, so we had to move out of that area. So then I went into my steep turns. I did quite a few. It was a little windy, so we did another steep turn, and another steep turn, and another steep turn, and probably a clearing turn. So for my ground reference maneuver, it was an S-turn, which my S-turns are better than my turns around a point, and an emergency descent, somewhere around here. We also did a spiral emergency descent, I think, trying to remember, and then back to Pompano for the landings. And of course, somewhere around in here, I think there was a distraction thrown in. He also wanted to see how I could navigate back to the airport. I think my first landing was a short field landing, and I landed right on those numbers. And of course, you're going to do a taxi back. And this is where I mentioned that I forgot to use my checklist at some point. Really work on your stamina, because you could see you are being put through the ringer. And then probably a soft field landing and takeoff. And we also did a short field landing and takeoff. My last landing was a regular landing. Then off we go for the debrief. And you can watch my other video, what happened afterwards when we were debriefing. So I passed. And it's been a great adventure ever since. That was 2 years ago. I've taken several passengers. My friend Alex was one of the first passengers. We went down to Marathon, Keys. I've had a lot of fun flying, and I have no regrets. And every time, I learned something new. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next one. Hopefully, it won't take me a year to make it.